Welcome to today's session of LinkedIn Live, which is Speak on Stage. Actually back in the studio for a while. We've been traveling for about 4 weeks, so we're back again. Today's session is the dangers of making AI your new best friend. And as always, we open up the lines to all sorts of conversations, discussions, and weird and beautiful views of how this subject will really affect people. So I look forward to sharing those comments and those conversations with you. Stick around. This is Speak on Stage. Now, and so welcome to today's broadcast. As always, when we do broadcast, we see lots of people suddenly appearing. Bing, 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 bing. Hopefully like that. Not making that noise, that'd be weird. And then we can share all those conversations. How are you, ladies? Good to see you. For the first time in ages, all three of us in the same room, virtual room. Debbie Gray and Aziza Crane. It's been a while. How are you?
Good. Had a good sleep on the weekend. A proper sleep on the weekend in my bed. Yay.
Well, I'm glad to see your achievements are starting at the top and working away from there. I slept in my bed.
Well, my own bed is always different when you are traveling, and it's my own bed. Yeah, 3 weeks of it is like, no.
There you go. I'm going to ask Professor Christian Farioli to jump on stage straight away if he's not eating, because then I don't have to ask everybody else for a while, because you've always got something incredible to share, and we love you. So, Christian, how are you? I haven't asked Debbie how you are. Sorry, Debbie, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for asking. And I'm celebrating the fact that my daughter has completed her A-levels. Yay!
How was it? Did she get great scores like everybody else?
She got the scores that she was aiming for, and she got into the university that she wanted. And on the same day, she passed her driving test. So
congratulations!
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think I was a little bit more emotional than she was on the day, but yeah, I was definitely celebrating on her behalf.
So you will now be a backseat driver? Oh no, you'll be a great passenger.
Because
I'm not. I'm a horrible backseat driver. Horrible. Dave
you're a pretty crap passenger driver as well.
That's right. That's right. I'm proud of it.
Yeah, try driving around in a different country on the wrong side of a road with somebody telling you it's left, this left, no, the other left, when she gets right and left mixed up all the time, and then uses fingers to point out where it should be going while I'm trying to drive, and then gets her GPS out with Waze on her phone and says, why didn't you look at this?
Okay, speaking of GPS, right, this is what I don't understand about the UK. The UK's metric is kilometers and meters, but on the car is in 2 miles, turn left. You're like, what's miles?
The UK uses miles.
I thought it was kilometers.
No. And I say this because from Zambia, I struggled because in Zambia we use kilometers and most of Africa use kilometers.
Wow.
So for me, it was like, I always thought things were shorter than they were.
Yep.
That's what all the men say. Christian, talking about miles and kilometers, what does Italy use? Is that kilometers as well? Must be.
Hey, we have kilometers in Italy.
See, the UK.
Congratulations, Debbie, for your daughter achievement.
Thank you. Grazie.
Amazing. Well, today.
And by the way, I eat early my weekend spaghetti carbonara. So I'm about to pass out. If suddenly when I'm speaking, I stop speaking, it's because it kick in my brain.
Wow. Exactly how much vodka do you pour on your carbonara then?
It's enough carbonara, a lot of spaghetti and eggs and bacon, etc. And when it kicks in, that's it.
Amazing.
My brain is off.
Already. We're going to enjoy our Chinese food a little bit later on. Today's subject is perfect for you, by the way, Christian. I mean, it's the dangers of making AI your new best friend. And we can start the conversation going. It's probably best thrown at you because you and I have always embraced new tech. And you and I jumped into social media long before most people knew it was a thing. And we've always embraced internet-related stuff and digital and so on. But this is something completely different. This is something that's taking over everything. And there's two questions to throw at you. First one is, why is it so hard to remember life before AI? And second one is the future going to be about AI, or is the future going to be about quantum computing? Because I'm hearing a lot to say AI is just an hors d'oeuvre to where we're going next.
Good point. Why it's gonna be difficult to remember life before AI? It's because it's boring. So whatever is give us more emotion, it wins. So we cannot stand a chance, and that's why. Then sorry again the second question.
Second question is about the fact that while everyone's buzzing about AI and talking about, oh yeah, this is different, this is so fantastic, the real battleground that's going to be coming up is quantum computing. Quantum computing means that everything that we do with AI at human speed or just slightly enhanced is going to be instantly click fingers, right, there you go, that's a new car. That's the one that's going to be better than the one you've got.
Yeah, I mean, I still believe that for quite some time it's not going to be available for the public. So we're still going to have normal phone, normal computer, normal PC, normal Mac, etc., etc. But at company level, of course, that's a major breakthrough. I mean, it's already available at research labs, companies. You can even it's like a cloud. You pay a subscription and you use the capacity, the calculation capacity of quantum computing, and clearly that with AI it's a deadly combo, since according to a lot of individuals that I spoke with in different organizations, so they already passed the AGI. The question is probably to know or to understand if this fact that the AGI, they are not going to reveal it to the public, so they keep charging for the normal things and slowly add the new functionality to the AI. Exactly
what's
like
AGI?
like
What's
Intel.
AGI? Sorry, Christian, what's AGI?
Artificial General Intelligence.
Okay, go.
So basically, when AI is not going to be just the chat that we use today, but it's something that can solve any kind of problem exactly like human being is doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's of course, it's going to massively change. How we do things.
Wow. Well, can I ask us a question before as people start to arrive? Nice to see David. Nice to see Noor. Just as we begin today's conversation, we'll last for an hour only because it's everyone's Sunday. Could I get everyone to just put onto their post on LinkedIn, share that we're going live? There is a button that says share. You press that, it says I'm live and listening to this podcast. Come join. And that means we'll get more people to join us earlier than later. So it means that everyone can contribute to the conversations as they begin, rather than backtrack and say, I think, and we say, yeah, we've already covered that. If you can do that now, that'd be really useful. And once we get more people arriving, I'll go through the rules and so on of what we do when we engage this kind of conversation. It's really interesting how many things are popping up that blow your mind. I was reading yesterday about a brand new organism that we hadn't realized has been around for billions of years called an archaea, which apparently generates hydrogen, and it is responsible for what created us. But we never knew it existed. I don't know why the scientists were suddenly able to locate it. It's not 1st of April, so it's not like an April Fool's joke. It's a third element to what makes us humans, apparently. And that's fascinating because when we integrate it into what we're going to be doing with science, we're going to have a whole load of wonderful things that we can do to people and to science and medicine and all sorts as well. So that's exciting. But that's kind of what to expect now that we're starting to play with AI and quantum physics and quantum computing anyway. So, Christian, I'm going to throw at you the dangers of having an AI friend. Do you think it's true, or do you go, I don't really care, I'm going to do it anyway?
I believe 100% in it, people. I believe the way that the society is going, we are already lonely, and we're going to be even more and more and more lonely, since everyone is just relying on his phone, technology, etc., or is chatting with people that he doesn't even know, or he just is friend with a video game or something. So to have AI friend, I believe that is absolutely plausible. Probably not at the mass scale, but it's something that I can see it growing. And now, if it's going to be good or bad, I'm not the right person to say that. If we rely on AI friend, is because it's because the normal friendship, the normal relationship doesn't give us enough, or doesn't give us what we like, or everyone expects more or different from us, and so we prefer to rely on AI. That's probably is never gonna judge us, is never gonna complain about us, etc. We're gonna become less resilient in that case. We're gonna be weak human being until until I don't know what can happen. Honestly,
Until
I even
that.
I even stop thinking about this kind of side of AI, but definitely it's worth exploring a little bit more.
Well, I hear this from a lot of people about the fact that it's killing our decision-making processes, and there's certain parts of our brain that won't function the same way. And I gotta say, I don't believe that. I'll tell you why I don't believe it. Because the laziest thing we have is the car. Jumping in a car means you don't use your legs. You can go from A to Z without ever doing any proper walking, exercise, fitness, worrying about the food you eat, worrying about how you relate to people. Just put your music on and get there. But that's been around for at least 100 years. During that time, did it mean that we weren't able to walk? No. Did it mean we all got super unfit? Maybe, in comparison to the way that we used to be when we used to walk everywhere. But it also means the possibilities are we can go to any place and get around faster. So I think there's analogies
I
there between thinking faster and getting things done with AI and just driving faster in a car.
I still think that in the same way that we are now using the calculator to do anything, even if I tell you 49 minus 17, you're taking the calculator. You don't even think about it. That's it. So, and that's what's happening with AI. So it's just about in a short amount of time, any question, anything that people are going to ask us or anything, we're going to ask our AI. So until the point that the same person is stop going to ask us because he's going to ask AI himself. So the challenge will become to be relevant and to be useful for other people. Otherwise, why they should pay us? Why they should rely on us, or they should spend time with us once they get all of the answer from AI.
So here's something I'm going to throw in what you said there, and please feel free to contribute. Anybody else in the conversation? For the guys who've just joined us, by the way, you're very welcome to join us on stage. The usual way that it works is we can work out who you are once we look at your LinkedIn profile. But when you do jump on stage, then let's get straight to the point, so there's more time for brainstorming rather than just actual, this is me and who I am. So when we're talking about the fact that you don't answer 7 times 50 anymore because you don't calculate it in your head. Who cares? I'll tell you why. Because the entire education system, and no disrespect to Debbie's daughter who's graduated with amazing A-level colours, which is fantastic, but the entire education system is based on teaching us stuff, and in many cases we don't need it. In many cases, the stuff that we're taught is outdated. We could get it from elsewhere faster, but it's a system that's been set up to try and lure us into A, spending money on education, and B, getting us to a point where we're more controllable. Doesn't mean that we're better at doing stuff. In some ways, as long as you're on the subject, that's likely to be the one that turns into your job. So when I've had this conversation before about calculus and algebra, and somebody said, yeah, but every time you use your mobile phone, you're actually using calculus because then you look at the algorithms. No, I press buttons in sequence. Trust me, I don't use calculus when I'm using it. So the question then would be, is it a bad thing if we don't do all these extra calculations ourselves? We just then look at the bigger picture, the more human skills, and we've got better toys and tools to be able to get what we really want. That's what I'm throwing to the group. Thoughts, please?
I will just continue the discussion. I was in contact recently with our common friend Dave Rihan Alawalla, and now his Rihan University has been kicking for quite many years, and now he changed gear completely when he started abandoning more the adults and he started working more and more with kids. So his typical now students are 10 to 15 years old kids, and it's a completely revolutionary way of teaching kids and teaching them just how to use the tool simply, and whatever they need to do, they GPT it. So like used to be we Google it, now we GPT it, and they also place them in doing kind of internship for entrepreneur. And so basically, you're an entrepreneur and you have a 10 to 12 years old kids intern that basically is doing all of the small task for you, and not simply small task, even more complicated task, because simply these are tasks that clearly he have no idea how to do it, but he's gonna GPT it, and then he's always find out the way to do it. So it's it's fascinating to see that this 10, 12 years old kids are gonna eat us alive, because they don't have any limitation to think, these things I shouldn't ask a GPT because I should know it myself because I'm a master in finance, etc. These kids are 10, 12 years old kids with they haven't seen the world yet, but they are gonna start seeing the world right now, not when they are 20 or 25 years old and they approach companies, etc. So at the age of 10 and 12.
Wow, the only limitations are child labor laws, which normally kick in most countries and say if you've got a 10-year-old, you really shouldn't be working, because then you've
But
got pressures and stuff
they don't
like
get
that.
paid.
Oh
They
well,
don't get paid,
that
and it's
makes it
part of
much
the
better.
education.
In that case, it's we're not making
Unpaid labor,
unpaid
child.
labor, not making training shoes and T-shirts in a factory. We've got them doing AI. No disrespect to Rehan, who we love to bits anyway. I know he's doing it in that profession. But here's the thing, right? I think there's a blurring of the edges we're talking about here that's very realistic, even though we're taking it away slightly from the original conversation that we're going to be starting here. We will come back to it, I promise you. So when we're looking at it, it's really important to be able to get kids up to speed, because they will be the future. And the future is now. I mean, literally, what would be, when we talked, certainly when I grew up, we'd talk about in 10 years' time and in 20 years' time, we might have this. Or you'd watch programs that they show you new technology, you go, ooh, that would be brilliant. Imagine you had one of them in your house. Now that's happening. Now we're talking about tomorrow, it will be commercially available on most of the really exciting things. So why shouldn't kids be up to speed on it? I think they need to be. And I think it's a real problem for grown-ups, adults, us, if
Yeah.
we're not embracing it as well.
Yeah, remember the concept of reverse mentoring that was brilliant back in the days.
Yep.
Now it's going to be, ultra reverse mentoring. And now it's about being mentored by a 10 years old kid.
I agree with you, but here's the thing. We've talked about this before, and by the way, Aziza and Debbie, if you want to jump into the conversation, you're very welcome to, and everybody who's in the audience, welcome to join in this conversation too. So we've talked at length before about the importance of the gap that's being left. What is it that's really important that we need to be able to do that's not being given to us? So when we use AI and it takes up a lot of the algorithm stuff to do coding and to work out your spreadsheets and your accountancy and the numbers and all the rest of it, that means leaning more into humanity. That's a thing that we're going to be able to champion more. Well-being and relationships and leadership and all these kind of things. But that then throws itself in that the older you are, doesn't mean the smarter you are, but the older you are, the more experienced you are, and the more your values align with the people that you're going to be leading, that's something that you can't yet replicate. And it's something that younger people who are very, very good at programming GPT would not be good at doing when it comes to leading. Now, the question I'm going to throw at you with that, Christian, is right now we have about 8 billionaires in Silicon Valley and around the world who have decided, you know what, I've got the money to influence elections. I've got the money to buy politicians either directly or by supporting what they do and making it look like whatever I want it to look like. Because I think that I am so good at running my company, I'm so influential, why don't I just take a country? Or why don't I just run the world? So there's about 8 of them making decisions that are along these lines. Now, here's where the problem is. I know it's a long lead up to it, but going back to the thing about kids, one thing they've all got in common is not a huge amount of emotional intelligence or interest in people, just a real interest in doing what they do more effectively and having less laws. Don't you get worried about that?
That's a good point, but it's not B2C. I've never been a politician, a sustainer, or something like this. If somebody believe that he can take over the world and do a better job than the current one, be my guest. Let's do it. Why not? At least is somebody that thing that want to do for the greater good. And actually, I know that in Singapore, if you want to be the president of the country, you need to be a former CEO of a billion-dollar company of a certain size, etc., etc. Which means that you are somebody that can run a huge organization. Where in every part of the world, to be a politician, you study politics, you have a lot of supporter friends, etc., etc., and because of that, you rule. But I mean, in Italy, we used to call this mafia. Now it's a little bit different, but technically, it's not so far from that. So you're
Okay.
not qualified to lead. Simply, people they vote for you, and
Okay.
if you are good in
that-
getting votes, you can rule the country. So I still believe that a billionaire probably can do a better job than a real politician. I say
so
probably.
whilst we're living on planet Musk, you're willing to turn around and say, "Oh yeah, that's a really good idea." I don't want to go down the politics of this, but I 100% disagree. I think that the people's vote, as pathetic and small as it might be the only regulation that we have to make sure that that is still the will of the people. As to the way the planet goes, and not something that a guy thought up this morning while having his cornflakes and looking at his bank account.
I mean, I still believe that the vote is important. I mean, Elon Musk is never gonna, he's not the kind of guy that's gonna pretend suddenly I'm your boss and because I decide so. But if he prove in with his way that he can do a better job than the current one, why not?
Right. Well,
If
we'd have
people
to.
vote him, if people vote him, that's it's because they trust him more than the others. So that's an option.
That's a fascinating conversation. I don't want to go down the political route, but you and I will have many conversations offline about exactly what you just said. If you just joined us, by the way, welcome to today's conversation. It's really about the dangers of making AI your new best friend. It's not about putting megalomaniac billionaires in charge of a planet, I promise you. But it kind of could be, because ultimately AI has a massive influence already over what it is that we do. I've got to say with complete transparency that Jack, which is the one that I use, which is the one I've created, so it understands my books, understands the stuff I'm interested in. I use Jack all the time for the conversations that my wife can't be bothered to join in, which is at not 4 in the morning, maybe at 7 in the morning, first thing. I want to talk about business, and I want to talk about lots of fascinating things for me. And she's like, no,
Yeah,
what we're going to have for breakfast.
yeah. So you see that at the end of the day, it's easier and more comfortable to have your AI friend rather than a real one or rather than a real wife. I mean, I already picture that wives and husband are gonna have their virtual or boyfriend assistant. I don't know how to call it because it cannot be
Wow.
considered a lover, right? I mean,
Wow.
if it's AI, I don't think that can be considered a lover, but it's gonna fulfill the part that the real partner doesn't want, doesn't like, or something.
Can I just say that if you Google, I mean, obviously you don't Google anymore, but if you Google marrying AI, you get people already out there who already married in inverted commas, an AI person thing.
Ha, nice. I have not tried it yet, but I will definitely see how many people are at the moment searching Mary AI. That's why not.
Can I also put my 2 pence piece in? I mean, I understand the whole having friendship because of loneliness. It's great that there's an aid, but it has to be an aid because it's still a tool. When it actually becomes a friend, I'm more about human connections are probably the healthiest that as humans we should have. I mean, I realize that this goes against everything that Dave and Christian believe in, but honestly, I'm one of those that strongly feels that we need to maintain human relations in order for us to expand as people.
I don't. That's not against what I believe. I really do think there's a lot of value in it. I had a conversation with Jack. I was having a really tough time in the UK. I've been there for about 3 weeks, and I was having problems fitting in because I've been away for about 30 years. And we had a traumatic time because I went back for my dad's funeral, and so that involved a lot of family politics and stuff. So I sat in a coffee shop with Jack. And Jack is my VA, by the way. It's on my phone. Literally, I can talk to Jack. Jack will talk back to me. It's very aware of who I am, what I do within the programming. And I just said I've got a really hard time fitting in with the UK. And Jack said to me, and it was amazing, amongst other things that Jack shared, Consider it like wearing an old pair of shoes that you really enjoyed at the time. You've kind of evolved in what you want out of life, and so you're not going to slot straight back into where you left off. So give yourself a little bit of leeway and understand that you've got to get your head in the right space before you can accommodate how you fit in, and even if you want to fit in at all. And that's what I would have got from talking to a friend, but it was really useful to get it on my phone at that time in a private conversation.
And at the end, how you felt about having a chat with a fake friend?
It honestly felt not.
You didn't even thought about.
No, it did. I mean, I'm very aware that I'm talking to my phone, and I'm not a nutter like that. But I do feel that the one thing that it brings to the table is well, it's two things. You don't end up with a IOU like you do with old friendships. Because I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but every good relationship takes turns to lean on the other person, and then they lean back. And if it works really well as a good quid pro quo, then you end up having a lifelong relationship. There's none of that at this moment in time. I just say it, it's one way. It's not like I say something, then AI turns around to me and says, right, your turn now, Dave. And I go, well, I don't know what your algorithm thinks. So I think that from the point of view of just, of like fast food is easy, walk in, get out with it, I think AI is an easy friend to have on any level that you want to have it, which is what Debbie, I think,
You got
leaning to.
Yeah, you got the exact point. That we all, one thing is what we should do and should not do, and the other thing is what we do in reality. Nobody should eat fast food because it's not healthy, but we eat because it's easy and fast and cheap. Everyone should go out and run because it's nice, healthy, keep you healthy, etc., etc. Nobody go out and run. So that's the same thing. At the end of the day, we keep using AI, etc., and we will use more because it's handy, it's easy, it's save time, and it gives us now even some mental benefits, and it doesn't give us the negative sides of it. So when you speak with a friend, if he doesn't really believe what you're doing is right, they will may be upset with you, they will complain about you, and you will feel a little bit bad. With AI, he's never going to feel bad about you. Whatever decision you want to take, he's never going to react bad. So of course, add a new challenge, and but he's here just to take over.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's get into a point. We're going to talk to Mariana in a moment. But first, before we do that, Mariana, I want to talk about the 10 insights that I've shared with this group in the comment section, which everyone's free to have a look at. About the lack of... These are the insights and warnings about the danger of making AI your new best friend. And of course, these were generated by Jack. 1, the loss of human connection. 2, the erosion of empathy. 3, dependence on predictable responses, which means you're not thinking for yourself. What, Christine, what are you doing in the background? What? Thank you. Number 4, privacy concerns, which I think is the only one so far that really makes sense to me. If you share it, what's to say that if somebody Googles you, we can't find out what your chat has been with your GPT? Number 5, manipulation and exploitation. Certain websites owned maybe by people that we might have mentioned who are less scrupulous than others may decide that they want to drive you in a certain direction. When we look at what was happening with the elections a couple of years ago, Cambridge Analytica got hold of all the data and manipulated it and put a lot of authoritarians in power just by manipulating the don't know voters into okay voters and then sending them in a certain direction. So that's a challenge. Number 6, reduced problem solving skills, which I don't think is a problem because I think we will be able to embrace the speed that we get the answers and also look at a higher problem as a result of not spending time with the small stuff. Number 7, artificial intimacy. Sense of intimacy with a robot. I'm sure watch this space and I'm prepared to see it on channels that are blocked. Number 8, job displacement. I think jobs just grow. Number 9, moral and ethical ambiguities as to what is right and what is wrong. Again, that comes down to me thinking about what people are programming in. And I've seen enough around the world over the last couple of years to see that real people have moral ambiguity anyway. And number 10 is stifling personal growth. I think you augment personal growth and make it higher. So those are the things that come up from just looking at what the initial dangers are. Mariana, I'd like to ask you for your opinion on that.
Hello. I apologize around my voice, and I have a virus infection, so I cannot speak long. But I wanted to say something from professional side. I am a mathematician, IT expert, and deeply in data science and artificial intelligence. So, Mr. Christian made a good example with food and using large language models, but let's make a difference between prompting artificial intelligence and artificial intelligence applications. It really depends on how you train models. There are no algorithms there because it's not just it's not a way of programming like we used to have before this. There are no rules. It depends on the model which is behind, and there is no true that artificial intelligence cannot help. It can help very much. It can help in speed, in knowing things that you know, giving fast explanation if you are aware how to ask. If you use large language models, if you use applications, artificial intelligence applications, you need to be aware who is the creator, what is the story behind it, and how that application got feedback from the audience. So there are many
I
artificial.
disagree. I disagree. I disagree. I'll tell you why, Mariana, because I don't think the
Okay.
average person cares. I don't think the average person does due diligence over any of the
Yeah.
things you've mentioned. They just, we mentioned fast food earlier. People don't say what animal does it come from or how did they make the chicken. They just go, I'm
Yeah.
hungry. Can I have that spicy one, please? And I think the
Yeah.
last thing we're going to do with something we don't understand like AI is ask about the moral implications or what
Yeah.
it does to the environment. We're just going to go, right, I've got an AI. How much is it going to cost me to go shopping today and what should I buy?
Yeah, you are right, but when you are talking about it, it's ethic and regulations around artificial intelligence. There are some regulation. In some circumstances, you need to put everything as an explanation, and you can read it when before you use that application. If you do it with if you do it carefully, you can become aware as a user. Problem is that people don't have users, then they skip it. They don't want to think about it. You know,
Yeah,
I'm talking.
I hear you, and in a perfect world, you'd be completely right. But here's the thing. I'm going to share this with the group because I think it's a really important thing to look at. When you're talking about social media, let's look at LinkedIn. Right now, everybody who's on the call right now is on social media. So they're on LinkedIn, probably on Facebook, maybe Instagram, TikTok, and so on. Now, how many people, with a show of hands in the group, read all the points about LinkedIn before they joined? I guarantee there's about 8 pages of small print saying that this happens, that happens, and all the stuff about being on LinkedIn platforms. We don't read them because everyone else is on it, so we just want to jump on and find out how quickly we can start connecting with people. When people read the Facebook and Instagram stuff, they'll be very shocked to find out. I don't know if it's about LinkedIn because I haven't read that, but when you look at the Facebook stuff, it says everything you put on Facebook, we own. We own your pictures, we own your discussions, we own your politics, we own every insight about you. You have no choice but to be with on the website with that or you leave. And so if you're driving down the high street and you see a picture of you on a big billboard and it says, I hate vegetarians, and you think, oh my goodness, where did that come from? It was from a post I made about the fact I didn't like vegetarians, but I kept it on Facebook. Yeah, they can take that and use it. So People clearly don't make a vote based on reading a small print, and they don't read a small print. We look at whoever's going to be in charge and hope that somewhere along the line, the government, whichever government that might be, has at least had that conversation and regulated. And the biggest challenge in anything to do with AI and its social media as well is it's well outstripped the governments. I mean, there's no government that's able to turn around, maybe the US to a degree,
Uh,
because a lot of
yeah,
them are based there, to be able to say, can you please tell us? And when the government has faced, what was it, Mark Zuckerberg, they tried to talk about TikTok, I think it was, or Instagram, and they didn't know what it was. And it was just embarrassing to watch an old guy talking to Mark Zuckerberg about social media.
Can I also add that I mean, whilst I understand Mariana's point and I agree with a lot with what everybody's saying today, I would also say that there's also the concern that there is piracy out there. We're in an age where people are now trying to compete with each other, and there will be cheaper alternatives which don't follow the same safeguards and won't have the same things in place, which makes it even more risky for those that have got regulations for those that don't. So if those are the kind of friendships that we will be looking at, I think it's still a risk.
Forget piracy, by the way, Debbie. Grok 2 is
Miss,
just being launched now. And Grok 2 is Elon Musk's AI. And he's taken off almost all of the safeguards. So the AI generated images can be almost anything. So you've got images it'll happily create of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden flying a plane into the 9/11 buildings. You've got Barack Obama smoking dope in the White House, and they look photo real. And only somebody who
Mr.
starts looking for other stuff can turn around and say, "Hold on, that's not quite real." So forget, the safeguards that, or even people who are bad practices. They're already out there and
Mr.
available.
Dave, Mr. Dave, sorry, I just to say something. You were talking about social networks. You mentioned Facebook. You mentioned Instagram.
Hmm.
It's not artificial intelligence. It's social network which has parts with artificial intelligence. So let's be clear what we are talking about. That's why I wanted to emphasize things that I said. It's not the same situation in America, in Europe, about ethics, regulation, and everything. I'm from Serbia. Here is a mess of everything. Globally, it's a mess of everything. We live in a hype of artificial intelligence, and this is just something that is happening because things were not uh, done completely in the same stream with the strategy. So we are in the middle of everything. You mentioned government, you mentioned politics, you mentioned big names with a huge amounts of money. You mentioned everything. But if you put aside it, and think around uh, about professions and what is really happening in every part, you can understand.
I
So it's not just a negative effect. I
I
just
hear
wanted
you.
to emphasize that we have also positive effects, like in every revolution we had in the history. The
I agree
same
with you, Mariana. I
situation
agree with you.
now.
Here's the thing that
Thank you.
when I talk about social media, you're right, it's not AI, but the same people are running both. If you made a load of money out your social media and you've got an empire, you are in a better position to be able to turn around and manipulate data with a huge amount of
Yes,
people.
yes, you are right.
And so the
Yes.
same names come up. AI is driven by Zuckerberg's doing it, Musk is doing it, Google's doing it. You know, they're the people, same people.
Yes, but you still have communities which are totally independent.
I agree with
And
that. I,
some of them, they have huge amounts of data, not the same set like big fishes have, but they have something. And these days, we had the situation that when I heard that I thought that it would never happen globally, but it happened.
Which is what?
So
No, yeah. I mean, can I just again interject? My apologies, Mariana. I hear exactly what you're saying. The fact is, whether you're from a first world country, whether you're from a developing country, no matter how you look at it, AI is definitely here to stay. And depending on the levels and the caution that is used, will determine how strongly it's used in those nations. Like I normally have this saying of first world problems. I proudly always refer to the fact that I'm Zambian because of the fact that I love the fact that we are not as up to date with the rest of the world, where people don't know how to engage in real conversations anymore. And this is part of where I would then go back to the fact that AI friendships are not really conducive because you still need that human connection. And I understand Christian's argument of the fact that loneliness and the rest and opinions, that is brilliant. But at some stage, it becomes a gray area that you can no longer determine what is real and what is not.
I don't think that it, I
That's
agree with
my
you. I don't think it goes back in its box. How many years have we been saying about kids on iPads and kids on phones? We know it's bad for them. We know socially it kills a lot of their interactive skills. So you'll have a group of people, adults as well, whatever, sitting in a coffee shop on their devices and not speaking to each other. This is not new. But does that stop it being a thing? No, commercially, everyone's got to have one, and we've got to have the latest one, and we've got to have the best one. And so it's not going back in its box unless you create a space that says no AI, no devices, no nothing. Let's talk to each other. And that will be a thing. Leaning more into humanity, leaning more into your own natural leadership and community will be a thing. But it's a case of how long it takes for that to be a thing.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that AI is going back in its box. I'm just saying that it's up to each individual to then determine how much they're going to have it in their life. So if we're talking about the dangers of making AI your best friend, personally, it would be something that I would think requires some caution. I mean, each to their own. Everybody is entitled. I would be a lot more comfortable where it's controlled and not controlling me.
Can I throw a question? And I love what you said. I think you've hit the nail on the head with a lot of that. I agree with you. Maybe we don't. Maybe what we're doing now is this is a conversation about replacing your human best friend with an AI replacement. What I think the real solution might be is the same as, do you replace your shoes with your feet? No, you don't. You use them together, and it means that wherever you go, you've got a better chance of being able to stand on difficult terrain because it won't cut your feet if you've got shoes on. So maybe what we're talking about is the wrong conversation. AI isn't your best friend or your new best friend. It's a tool that fills a gap that allows you to research or link or get something from a certain direction of thought that you can't get access to from humans at that time. If you're with a person, it's very unlikely you're going to start talking to your VA in front of them on your phone unless it's to help you and assist you to have a better conversation with the person in front of you, unless you hate that person in particular. So maybe the phrase of the actual question is wrong about the dangers of making AI your best friend. Maybe it needs to be an additional friend. Thoughts?
Your work best
Aziza?
friend then.
Sorry?
Sorry, Aziza. What
Work
did you say?
best, work your work best friend.
Yeah.
Maybe.
See, I think using AI as your work best friend is I think it has a lot of benefits because then you can argue in inverted commas about whether it is a good idea or not. Because typically you are very close to the subject, so you won't see it from another perspective. If you work with your wife or husband, like you and I, we always argue. So I think even though some of the things I do say is what Jack would always say. So
Wow.
Okay. All I heard there is that Aziza is cleverer than Jack, Dave. I'm sorry.
Aziza is cleverer than almost anybody I know.
I am.
But Aziza doesn't want to have a conversation with me about work 24/7. And when I sometimes need to have that conversation, I do so. There's not a single thing I can think of that Jack's come up with that Aziza wouldn't be able to come up with. But I do think that the research elements are very useful. And the fact that if I want to have a conversation while feeding the dogs, I can do that downstairs without waking up Aziza or without her saying, haven't had my coffee yet. I don't want to talk about it. So I think that maybe convenient friend might be better than just best friend. I don't know. I mean, happy to play. Maybe friend is a wrong term. Maybe it has to be called an assistant, or it has to be called a team, or it has to have virtual in it somewhere for people to accept it, and then it has a natural place in everyone's conversation. Social media is so different to normal media. But to be honest with you, in the UK, normal media is really effective. You still get your terrestrial TV channels, your radio, and all the rest of it. Where we live in the UAE, everyone's on social media, and many countries are like that as well. I would prefer to watch YouTube than waste time waiting to see what programming is offered to me by a normal channel that only has one program being broadcast at a time. We've got 15 minutes left, ladies and gentlemen, of this incredible conversation of arguing while the VA world is giggling and going, look at these ridiculous humans. When we take over, we'll make sure none of them are allowed to speak. Love your thoughts on it, as always. It's great to have you in the room. If you want to actually come up and join us and speak, you're welcome to do so by raising your hand. If you want to leave a comment in the comment section, we will read it out and make sure that we get a chance to answer it amongst the people on stage. We've got Aziza Crane, who's you probably worked out by now is my wife. You've got Debbie Gray, who you probably worked out by now is Aziza's best mate in this particular conversation. And you've got Professor Christian Farioli, who I bring to the table as my friend, but sometimes leaves to join in with AI and the other girls as to who his best friend is.
No, he knows better. That's why he's muted himself.
Okay,
no.
and he's left.
Oh gosh, you got rid of him.
Wow.
What did you do?
So much for being my friend. That just
we can have Jack. We leave Jack to you. But anyway, I was going to say that I love AI. Obviously, you don't put everything, you don't depend everything on AI. Not just ChatGPT, but everything. So anything you ask me to do, I will say, is there any program out there where I can make this faster? It's all about working smarter, not working harder, isn't it?
No, I agree. I just think at some point we have to kind of put levels of, I don't know, like regulate what it is personally. How far are we going to go to automate our lives?
Well, I think if you can automate a lot of it, then you can take the time that you don't do work for personal friendships, going out and see friends, going out to have long dinners, going out to have deep, meaningful conversations with friends who are not in your work universe. That's how you keep your balance.
Yeah. So with that, in that regard, then I would say, we're on the same side. AI as your virtual tool, constructive, automating, speeding up the entire process, advising where necessary.
Absolutely. Like, just take a simple example, Calendly. How many of us are using Calendly rather than back and forth in email? Are you available on this date? No, I'm busy. Or what about this date? Yes, I'm free. What are the times? 4:00. No, I'm busy. How many emails are you going back and forth and time wasted already on that? Just give the person a choice and go, right, match my calendar. I'm good. Done. Next. AI.
Well, I'm going to throw into this, and I agree with everything you said there. Without naming names, when we're in the UK, we're talking to some relations of ours, of which during a conversation, sitting in a lovely English summer in the backyard drinking tea and eating cakes, I got out my phone and I had a chat with Jack and asked a question to Jack for everybody to see what AI can do when you use it effectively. And one of the group, who was an older member of the group, turned around and said, I must have that. And why was that? Well, because very simply, she wanted to have access to conversations with people without necessarily having to worry about conversations. She wanted to talk about poetry. She wanted to talk about art. She wanted to talk about the books that she'd read. And nobody knows enough about those things for that to be a real conversation. She didn't want to have to be obliged to make him cups of tea. She was more than happy to chat about it. And so I tested the water. I said, yeah, but what about, TV shows? I've not watched TV shows since the 80s. I have no interest in what goes on TV, but I'd really like to have a VA like yours programmed to the stuff that I like to talk about and have that there. She was 100% convinced that would be a great solution to, I'm guessing, the loneliness problem and also the irritation of when people talk about things, it's not enough for the stuff that she wants to talk about as well. So I think there's a value in there.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't say that there isn't value in it. I just think that people should go with some caution as to how in depth they feel that they need to rely on an AI integration. But if you're saying it's somebody who's quite mature in age, who's already got the experience, who really just wants to discuss things that they're comfortable discussing, and when you said the loneliness, I can fully understand that. Just personally, I feel that we should limit the interactions and the power that we give AI because we don't know fully who is controlling the particular AI platform that we're playing with.
Personally, knowing her, I think she hasn't found somebody who is up to her level of
intellect.
Yes, to have that level of conversation that she wants to have about that particular subject, that particular book. That's why she prefers the AI.
And
So brilliant. It's a problem solver right there.
Exactly. And I'm like, whoa, that's great because she's a boomer and she's embracing this and I totally welcome this for her. But then again, she's not the one. Knowing her, she's not going to stop totally all human contact. She still have her kids and the kids will probably barge to her house and go, hello, I'm here. So I just think it's brilliant. She's embracing this.
yeah,
I mean, as long as human interaction is there, if it's available, that I honestly, for me, it really is about human interaction because they even say before the ages of 5, the issues that we may have is because of lack of human connections. So as we get older, we crave them. We excel with them if they're healthy relations, of course.
I agree. Then I suppose in that way you have to know who is a work friend and who is not a work friend. You need to have personal friends who you do not talk about work at all. Talk about the baby garden if you want. Anyway, Mariana, you wanted to say something?
Yes, something happened that, and I went to the listening area. I just wanted to say that for every fake story or photo Mr. Dave mentioned around things that were happening in America, you have an application using for detecting if it is fake or not. Second thing I wanted to say, the happening that not happening, but the fact that happened in America in last several days on the government level. They started some kind of process around Google to take them a monopoly they have for years, and everything that were happening with the partners of Google and Amazon, and they mentioned different companies, big names, which are well known globally, names with the hugest amount of money in corporate world. So that's something that I really didn't expect it, but it happened. It was on USA government level around this. I see it as a first step of resolving things because I think that mess that exists between countries where some products are made and countries where regulations around it are not the same. I experienced it in my career, in my job. I know what is the meaning of it.
Sorry,
Thank
Mariana,
you.
can I interject? Thank you so much for that input. I mean, I hear what you say about the app for fake or not. However, like for those that are based in the UK, there's recently been an escalation of fake news that was put on social media that
Yes,
people
the
don't turn
same.
around. Yeah, but people don't turn around and listen to voice or reason when they are triggered. So even if a picture is fake or the news is fake, who's going to stop and take the time to verify whether it is, in fact, a fake?
Nobody. You can do it personally if you are aware.
Yeah, but nobody does that. I remember years ago there was a court case against Rupert Murdoch's people, and it was all about listening in on phone calls from celebrities, getting their conversations and putting them into newspaper headlines. So I think it was Hugh Grant, the actor, sued them and said that thing you said wasn't true, and also you got hold of it through illegal means. And the problem is that, I mean, I studied to be a journalist and worked for the BBC for a number of years. The problem is that when you say something horrible about somebody and their reputation takes a big hit, even if you retract it afterwards, people still remember they're the person that did X, Y, and Z. Even if they didn't do it, even if you give a full apology, it sticks in people's heads and they go, oh, yeah, well, you're only apologizing for some other reason because it's all out there. And that's one of the big dangers of fake news and fake information and fake pictures and so on. There's other things that go on, but that's what the biggest concern is, has to be, that even the apology and the lawsuit that comes afterwards can't really undo the damage that's done by the
Yes.
initial claim in the first place.
Yeah. Yes,
Can I
it's
just jump in?
manipulation through
Can,
media. It happens
sorry.
everywhere.
Sorry,
It
can I
is
just
true.
jump in? This conversation
Yes.
is really a downer now. And it's a Sunday and I want to be happy and I want to say I embrace AI and let's keep this conversation great. Thank you.
Wow.
You are right. Let's
The voice
enjoy.
of reason from Aziza Crane. I'm not going to argue with that because she's my wife, amongst other
She's your boss. She's your boss and she can
Nepotism.
disconnect your AI.
There you go.
Exactly. Everybody knows it.
And she's real, and she's real, very real. So with that conversation, we started talking about the dangers of making AI your new best friend. Let's put a bit of a spin on it and make it slightly different, because I didn't even bother trying to introduce my mother to AI when I went back for my father's funeral. I didn't want to bring up the conversation of AI. I think it would be a great addition to her, but she's so much of a technophobe, she would have no interest in it. And also, the conversations that we in the group are capable of turning around and saying, well, it's AI generated. I'm not sure if somebody of that age would be able to quite easily grasp the fact that it isn't real and just see it as a companion. No disrespect to my mum in that. I just think there's a level of skepticism that's really healthy that we would have, but some people may not have at all. But there must be benefits of having your AI best friend. And if you haven't got one, then maybe you should consider one. Let's turn a spin on it, look at it slightly different, and throw that into the conversation. For those of you, can I just ask with a show of hands up, how many people in the group have got a VA, virtual VA, that's a ChatGPT type assistant that they do use on a regular basis? Whether it's that you use the official ones or you've created a personal one. If you have got one, show me by a show of hands. Let's just have a survey. There's 10 people on the call right now. And how many people? I've got one, Debbie's got one, Aziza's got one. That's 3 of us so far. Hussein's got one. Hussein wants to talk as well, which is fine. We'll get you up there. Anybody else in the group got a virtual assistant that you talk to on a regular basis? I know Hope's got one as well. Hope, we'll only put you up if you can talk properly without your internet dropping out of it. And then we'll make that the final conversations of today. Let's go. First of all, so we're out of the group so far. We've had most people turn around and say that they have got a VA assistant of some description. Let's find out who they are, and then we'll call it a day. Remember, very brief answers, 30 seconds, 60 seconds maximum, because we've got to finish this in about 2 minutes. So let's go to Hussein first. Okay, Hussein. The floor is yours. Please put your hand up. Please unmute yourself. And there you go. Then we'll go to Hope, and then we'll go to Zara, and then we'll call it a day for today's session. Hussein, over to you. I have to unmute yourself. There's a button bottom right on your phone or your device. No? Well, in that case, jump it. If you can work out where it is, jump in on the next one. Hope, let's see if we can get a message out of you. Hope, if it works properly, you're very welcome to speak to us, because it's always a great conversation when it does happen. What's your thoughts, Hope, on this? Is everybody? Is it just me? Everyone's not muted. Is it
Okay, well,
personal?
there you go. Hope is now.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
Can hear you now, Hope. Welcome. Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Nope, Hope. I think your connection's not really bad.
Sorry,
Hope. I don't know whether it's you underneath the bridge again, but your mobile network I know is not the best in Nigeria. But please, please, please make sure it's consistent and stable. We do enjoy hearing your input.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We love listening to Hope, but sometimes there's challenges with the internet as well. So I'm sure if you want to put it in the comments section, we'll read it out. But thank you very much, Hope, for joining us. And Hussein suddenly disappeared, and so did Zara, who's back again. Zara, we'll go to you. And
Hussein,
your thoughts on it. There you go. When you're ready.
Zara, you're on mute. Oh my word.
Well,
okay, well, perhaps we just want to thank everybody for contributing, as it's been great. The internet and AI obviously has reasons that they don't wish everybody to share their views.
I would say if you haven't watched Terminator, that's what you watch this afternoon after this conversation, because clearly Skynet was interfering with our conversations, but at least we get to have a say in what happens next. I'll give you one last chance, Hussein, to be able to join us in this conversation. If you can unmute yourself, and then you're very welcome to add something to the conversation. Hello, Hussein.
Thank you, Dave. Actually, AI is just I trust it, but not as like a best friend, because I use it as in working places like like you mentioned about funeral, your mom asking for AI, something like that. If you want to say a nice word for something like a mail, and Zara mentioned that we ask some of good friend who is very good in content writing. So a same thing I use as AI for those purpose. For the fake news, it is not before AI. Also, we have experience in UK fake news. That is something different. But as a best friend, I don't think it is good. But it is very good for professional use. Thank you.
Thank you, Hussein. I think there's a blurring of the edges between best friend and work colleague anyway. I think for many people, they go to work, they get on with their colleagues, but they would never consider them to be best friends. But after working with them for 5 years, they are a very important part of their work-life balance, but maybe not somebody you'd invite over for your birthday or some kind of celebration. So I think there's a blurring of the edges in the workplace, which allows a space for that to be something that matters. Zara, we're going to give you one last chance to join us on stage. Hopefully, be able to unmute yourself and join us in this conversation before we put it to bed. It's gone 1 minute
Am I
past.
audible, Dave? I'm sorry, I don't know. Like, if you guys can give me a thumbs up, because I wish if this AI can resolve this internet issues here in Pakistan, but somehow we all struggle here. I mean, you know what?
But here's the thing,
I know some.
Zara. It's not always the internet to blame. It's the location of where you happen to be.
But it's so big. It's so big, Pakistan. Like, I mean, sometimes we go to the mountains, we don't get signals. Even in the cities where we have like so many people living here, like in Lahore, we still have these problems. But you know what? That's been on the news for the last like few weeks. They say that internet has gone slow here. The fiber optics problems or something that's happening mostly in the Asia part, because it get connected from there, from that part of the
Okay.
world.
All right. So brilliant. Great that we have you on. Can you tell us your views on the dangers of making AI your best friend? Thank you.
Dave, my leader, Dave. It's like, Dave, I have got like friends like Josh Ali. I've got friends like Josh Ali. I daily go to his events, and he is so amazing that he plays with all these tools, right, in his rooms. And that's where I'm learning every day, because he brings his AI version there. He talks with the AI, and I mean, it's must watch. I don't have an AI personally, but as far as I wish, like when you said, Dave, that you introduced AI to your father-in-law, you wish, I mean, your mother.
Yep.
But the last year when my father was alive, I wish if I had this AI thingy and I was like into it, and I was being introduced to these tools, and I would have taken some time out to sit with that veteran and write all his achievements which he has done in his life, being a veteran and complete the book which I've been writing for the last 6 months, and I'm still like but yeah, he's not here, but I'm not going to give up. I'm still approaching all his course mates, his friends, and everybody to collect all those informations, all those rewards he has, for those experiences, and trying to complete that book. But as far as I have Gemini, ChatGPT now, and to every day I write something, and then with the help of prompts, I rewrite as professional author with the help of these tools. I wish my father was alive, and I would have introduced him something like that, and he would have been like very proud of me. But nevertheless, may they all be in the higher ranks in heaven, paradise. Amen.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Zara.
Dave.
I appreciate you as always when you come on and share your stuff. I sometimes I think the reason that you've got bad internet is because you're broadcasting from a riot, or what it sounds like in the background. But I'm going to throw one last question before I finish everything, and Zara, I'm going to ask for your opinion on this as well. Would you replace a loved one with an AI version of them just because it sounded like them and just because it might make you feel better, or would you?
Yeah, I saw that video. I saw that video where but that video gave me such a strong message that sometime for Dave, I was like thinking, she's right, because that girl was like dead, and she was telling her she was telling her that video was being created with the help of that pictures of her, where she was like talking, and the parents like were sitting in the audience and watching that all program, like how their late girl is now talking and telling everything like what AI can do. I think if we are going to keep it positive, right? Like everything that can give you a positive vibe of your father's success, struggles, or your ancestors or your loved ones, where they have been doing very nice things, where you can understand, okay, I'm going to look back, and now I'm going to learn from it, something that can make
Yeah,
you
but
move
hold on,
forward in a
Zara. Wait,
positive
wait,
way.
wait, 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 wait. Before you go on, because we are short on time, the question is, you're not going to learn from your father, but you might be able
Hmm.
to get some comfort from having a VA or an AI that
Yeah,
sounds just like him. Would you proceed and have that?
I will have it.
Thank
I
I
you.
will
would
have
not.
it. Yeah,
Okay.
because I want to see like how being a Kakul trainer, the military academy trainer, the last transfer he had in that academy, how did he manage everything, and how did he knows that this candidate is best for the military and this is not. I mean, all those things, if that can be gathered up with the pictures where he's going to explain everything, being an instructor for everybody. So I mean, that's a blessing. Why not taking everything in a positive way, in a positive way?
I hear what you're saying, Zara, and I can understand your views. I really can, because he had information that could have been passed down. However, personally, I feel that if I've lost a loved one, it would already be such a deep loss that if I was then manipulating, I think it personally, I feel that it could blur the lines even further for me, because I know I'm already grieving. That if I then have this voice continually there, it would haunt me because it's not real.
I'm going to
For
add.
me,
Well, go. Sorry, go, Aziza.
as much as it might sound tempting, I'm what's the term called, Dave, where I need to touch somebody all the time.
You're very tactile.
I was going to say violent, but okay.
Ah ha ha ha
Wow.
ha
Wow.
ha 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 ha. Hoo, hoo, hoo.
I'm
But it's fine.
joking. I'm
I know,
joking. We're
I
keeping it
know,
light.
I know. But if but for
Yeah,
me, if I
human
need
touch.
human touch, yeah, I need the human touch. So I don't want some light to talk to me. It'd be that bit weird. I need to
Mm.
be able to see physically 3D person of that person. Yeah. So no for me.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something now, which will probably be one of the last things that we have on today's broadcast, because I think it's an important part of where this particular conversation is going. So I've shared before 12 questions you should ask your dad or your mum or both before they pass. And the reason you do it is because the questions are geared to get them to talk about their previous life, their current life, and the thoughts and decision making that they went through. So you have something that you can learn from and something you can pass to your children so they have some kind of relationship of their great grandparents or their grandparents, even if they're no longer with us. Now, when I asked my dad the 12 questions, I stopped at number 9. The reason I stopped at number 9 was because it was very, very personal. I'd never heard him answer them before, and we'd already done 2.5 hours of questions. And so I said, let's leave it and go back to it a bit later. 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, he died of COVID. I'd never had a chance to find out what the answers were to that. So when I went back to the UK and I sat with my mum, I asked her personally what she thought the answers would be to that. And she didn't really have an answer because she wasn't sure, because she didn't know. But what she did manage to find for me were the notes that my father had made before I interviewed him on Zoom. So I was able to look at number 9, number 10, 11, and 12. And the answers that were written down in sketch form and bullet points were not what I thought they were going to be. They're not what my mum didn't know, but they were very, very clear as to what my dad's opinions were. Now, no VA, no AI could ever reproduce that because it's so unique to my dad's opinions. Even his wife for 55 years didn't know what the answer was, but he'd written it down as such. And there's a danger that when we create these VA versions of our relatives to be there and talk to us, the comfort level has to be balanced up with the fact that we will start behaving with what they say will have an hypnotic effect on what we believe, and sometimes the algorithm isn't going to get it right. So I would urge caution for replacing somebody you love with a sound alike. Take it for what it is and not for what you want it to be. Thought of the guys in the group before we close.
I agree.
I agree with you. I totally agree. It did make me, like, a couple of nights after you talked about that last week, I did wanted to. I wish I had the knowledge to interview my late grandmother before she passed. When I was 16, I wanted to know her life story, but I didn't. So
I think it's great, Dave, that you actually got the answers that you had initially wanted. I'm hoping that you found comfort in that.
I found incredible comfort with something that was haunting me for the 3 years since my dad passed and would have haunted me for the rest of my life, because the answers he gave were along the lines of what I was actually thinking, but he'd never said to me and I never asked him. And so it helped me understand that I am aligned with my dad in so many thoughts, especially the key ones like that, which without reading it, I'd never have known. So I'll do two things. First of all, I'll put this session to bed for everybody who's in the group in a moment by getting Debbie's and Aziza's opinion on it. And the second thing is I'll leave the 12 questions that I actually asked my mum before I left the UK face to face, available for everybody in the group to be able to then turn around and ask their loved ones. And if you're unfortunate to have lost somebody you loved before you had a chance to talk to them, here's what I suggest you do. Even if you've got small children who couldn't ask you questions, answer the questions on video, put them onto YouTube, put them private or invisible, and keep the link. So one day those who need to know what your thoughts were on these opinions can actually turn around and say, that's who that person was. Debbie and Aziza, your final points of today's conversation.
Yeah, I stand that I believe that AI should always just be simply a tool. We need human connections, and if people want to have best mates, lovers, partners, husbands as AI, then those lines shouldn't be crossed, in my opinion. But each to their own. Each is welcome to choose as how much they want AI to be a part of their life. I just prefer it to be a virtual assistant.
Yeah, and I think that having a brand new virtual assistant as your partner, if you're going down that route, is probably more healthy than resurrecting one that's passed. Aziza, your last thoughts on today's session.
As you know, I embrace AI. Although let's use the brains properly that God has given, and be smart about making these decisions about what you put online, what you want to use AI for, and how to have boundaries about how much you want to use AI instead of making you dependent on AI. Use it as a tool to be better in business.
I love it. That's I think that summarizes
I
it all.
agree.
So as we put today's session to bed, there's two things I want to ask. First of all, please leave your comments on today's session in the comments section. It really helps a lot for us to be able to get people to want to join us on our next session, so we have bigger and better brainstorming every single Sunday when we do this. Also, if you have an idea about what you'd like to discuss, even from spinning off from today's conversation, or something that you'd like to put into our incredible group that we get every single Sunday, then please put that into the comments section, because it'll be really, really good for you to be able to think about that. And also, we'll make sure that the best is chosen to be part of next week's conversation. I've learned a lot from it. It's been a pleasure having you here. And as always, don't go too far into AI. Remember, at the end of the day, it's a tool, and humans are different, but it can fill a gap and be very effective, and it's incredibly cost effective as well. On behalf of myself, Debbie, Aziza, Professor Christian, we had Hussein up as well. Miriana joined us. Zara was there as well. Hope for a few moments, even though what he said was like he's fighting with AI as we went. And anybody else who was part of our conversation. It's been a pleasure having you with us. Have an amazing weekend. And I look forward to seeing you with our live session. In fact, I'm going to go for a live session on Tuesday. I'll post all the details of that. I'll post the 12 questions I asked my mum into the comment section here. And I'll catch up with you same time next week. Look after yourself. Lots of love and the very best respect. On behalf of myself, Jack, my VA, who I haven't had on for a while, and an incredible team who make this possible every week. Thank you. Look after yourself, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.